Top 25 creative director interview questions, and answers a creative director interview tests much more than artistic taste. Employers want to know whether you can build a strong creative vision, lead talented teams, solve problems, manage deadlines, communicate with stakeholders, and connect creative decisions to business goals. In this guide, you will find 25 common creative director interview questions with professional sample answers. These responses are designed to help you explain your leadership style, strategic thinking, creative process, collaboration skills, and ability to deliver memorable work that produces measurable results for organizations while building trust across teams. How do you define the role of a creative director?
Great creative direction starts with understanding the business goal, audience, and desired emotional response. I translate those needs into a clear creative vision, then build concepts that are original, practical, and measurable. I collaborate closely with writers, designers, marketers, and stakeholders while protecting the central idea. My focus is balancing creativity with strategy, maintaining quality, and ensuring every campaign communicates a consistent and memorable brand message. This approach supports results.
How do you develop a creative vision for a project?
I begin by reviewing the brand's strategy, audience insights, competitors, previous campaigns, and business objectives. Then I identify the central opportunity and develop several creative territories rather than immediately choosing one idea. I evaluate concepts against originality, relevance, feasibility, and potential impact. After selecting a strong direction, I create a clear creative brief, communicate expectations, and guide the team through development, testing, refinement, and final execution. This approach supports results.
How do you manage and motivate creative teams?
Managing creative teams requires clarity, trust, and accountability. I establish roles, deadlines, quality standards, and communication routines while giving talented people enough freedom to contribute their perspectives. I encourage constructive feedback and celebrate experimentation, but I also make decisions when direction is unclear. When conflicts arise, I return the team to the brief, audience, and business objective. This keeps discussions objective and helps everyone work toward the same result. This approach supports strong leadership.
How do you handle tight deadlines and pressure?
I handle tight deadlines by separating essential work from optional improvements. First, I confirm the objective, deliverables, dependencies, and approval process. Then I prioritize the highest impact creative tasks and assign responsibilities according to strengths. I maintain frequent check-ins to identify obstacles early and protect critical milestones. If compromises become necessary, I communicate them honestly with stakeholders and preserve the core idea while reducing complexity, unnecessary revisions, or lower priority deliverables. This keeps execution focused.
How do you measure the success of creative work?
I measure creative success through both qualitative and quantitative indicators. Depending on the project, I consider brand awareness, engagement, conversion rates, audience response, retention, sales impact, and campaign efficiency. I also review feedback from customers, sales teams, and internal stakeholders. Creative work should not be judged only by personal taste. I use evidence to understand what worked, identify opportunities, and improve future concepts without sacrificing originality or brand consistency. This supports stronger decisions.
How do you respond when stakeholders disagree with your creative concept?
When stakeholders disagree with my concept, I first listen carefully to understand the concern rather than defending the idea immediately. I ask questions about objectives, audience, evidence, and business risks. If the feedback reveals a genuine weakness, I adapt the concept. If it is simply subjective, I explain the creative rationale and connect it to the brief. My goal is productive collaboration, not winning an argument or protecting personal ownership.
What makes a strong brand story?
Strong brand storytelling combines a clear message, emotional relevance, recognizable identity, and meaningful audience insight. I begin with the audience's problem, desire, or tension, then build a narrative around a compelling human truth. Visuals, language, pacing, and sound should reinforce that story consistently. I avoid creativity that exists only for decoration. Every creative choice should help the audience understand, remember, or feel something valuable about the brand. This approach supports stronger brand connections.
How do you approach a new creative project?
I start a creative project by clarifying the business objective, target audience, key message, deliverables, timeline, budget, and success measures. I then research the market and identify useful cultural or customer insights. After developing a creative direction, I present concepts with rationale and references. Once approved, I brief the team, monitor execution, gather feedback, manage revisions, and conduct a final quality review before delivery and performance evaluation. This approach supports consistent execution.
How do you encourage creativity within your team?
Creativity can be encouraged through psychological safety, diverse perspectives, experimentation, and meaningful challenges. I create an environment where people can share unfinished ideas without fear of immediate criticism. Brainstorming sessions focus first on generating possibilities and later on evaluating them. I also expose the team to culture, technology, design, storytelling, and customer insights. Regular creative reviews help transform individual inspiration into stronger collaborative solutions and commercially relevant ideas. This approach strengthens teamwork.
How do you handle criticism of your creative work?
I treat criticism as useful information, especially when it reveals something about the audience or business. I separate feedback about the work from feedback about myself and ask clarifying questions before responding. I look for recurring concerns, evidence, and alignment with the brief. If criticism improves the idea, I use it. If I disagree, I explain my reasoning respectfully and offer alternatives that address the underlying concern without weakening the creative direction.
How do you maintain brand consistency across different campaigns?
Maintaining brand consistency requires clear guidelines, strong creative leadership, and disciplined review processes. I make sure everyone understands the brand's voice, visual identity, positioning, audience, and strategic principles. At the same time, I avoid treating guidelines as a limitation on innovation. New ideas can evolve the brand when they remain connected to its core identity. I regularly review work across channels to ensure the experience feels coherent and recognizable. This protects brand equity.
How do you develop a creative strategy?
To develop creative strategy, I combine business objectives with audience understanding. I study customer behavior, cultural trends, competitive positioning, existing brand equity, and communication gaps. Then I define the strategic problem and identify a compelling creative opportunity. The strategy should explain who we are addressing, what we want them to believe or do, and why the idea matters. This foundation gives the creative team freedom within a focused and meaningful direction for execution.
What techniques do you use for generating creative ideas?
I use brainstorming, mood boards, references, competitor analysis, customer insights, cultural research, and rapid concept development. I encourage quantity during early ideation because strong ideas often emerge after obvious solutions are exhausted. I also invite perspectives from people outside the immediate creative team. After generating options, I apply clear criteria such as relevance, originality, strategic fit, feasibility, and audience impact to identify concepts worth developing further. This approach reduces unnecessary creative risk.
How do you prioritize multiple creative projects?
I prioritize projects according to strategic importance, deadlines, expected impact, resources, and dependencies. I maintain a clear view of the creative pipeline so urgent work does not automatically displace valuable long-term initiatives. When multiple requests compete, I communicate trade-offs with stakeholders and establish realistic priorities. Delegation is also important. I assign ownership clearly, monitor progress through milestones, and protect the team's capacity so quality does not suffer unnecessarily. This approach maintains strategic focus.
What creative tools and technologies are you comfortable using?
I use design, writing, research, collaboration, and project management tools according to the team's needs. I am comfortable working with creative software, presentation platforms, digital asset systems, analytics, dashboards, and communication tools. However, tools are secondary to thinking. I focus first on the concept and audience experience, then choose technology that helps the team develop, present, organize, test, and deliver the work efficiently and consistently. I keep workflows simple and effective.
How do you see artificial intelligence and technology affecting creativity?
Technology has expanded creative possibilities through artificial intelligence, interactive experiences, personalization, automation, and new content formats. I see technology as an enabler rather than the idea itself. I evaluate new tools based on whether they improve creativity, speed, relevance, accessibility, or audience experience. I also consider ethical, legal, and brand risks. Creative leaders should experiment continuously while ensuring innovation remains purposeful, responsible, and aligned with business objectives. This approach supports responsible innovation.
How do you handle an underperforming creative team member?
I handle underperformance by diagnosing the cause before making assumptions. The problem might involve unclear strategy, weak execution, insufficient resources, poor collaboration, or ineffective targeting. I review the work and available performance data, then discuss findings with the team member. We identify specific improvements, assign ownership, and establish measurable next steps. I believe accountability should be balanced with support so people understand both what must change and how to improve. This encourages growth.
How do you present a creative concept to senior management?
To present a creative concept, I start with the business challenge and audience insight, then explain the strategic idea before showing execution. I keep the story logical and focused, using examples that make the concept easy to visualize. I explain why the idea should work rather than relying on aesthetics alone. I also anticipate questions about feasibility, cost, risk, and measurement. A strong presentation builds confidence and encourages informed decisions. It creates alignment.
How do you collaborate with marketing and sales teams?
Collaboration with marketing and sales is essential because creative work must connect with customer behavior and commercial objectives. I involve these teams early enough to understand market realities, customer objections, product priorities, and campaign goals. During execution, I maintain open communication and use feedback without allowing every opinion to dilute the concept. The strongest partnership happens when creative, marketing, and sales share ownership of the outcome. This approach supports stronger business results.
How do you manage a creative project budget?
I manage creative budgets by defining priorities, estimating resources realistically, and monitoring spending throughout the project. I distinguish between costs that directly improve the customer experience and expenses that add limited value. When unexpected costs appear, I evaluate alternatives before reducing quality. I communicate financial risks early and document important decisions. Good creative leadership means producing strong work while respecting financial constraints and protecting the project's essential strategic objectives. This builds stakeholder trust.
Should a creative director still be involved in creative execution?
Yes, I believe creative directors should remain creatively involved while leading at a higher strategic level. I may participate in concept development, reviews, storytelling, visual direction, or problem solving, especially when the project needs stronger creative focus. However, I avoid becoming a bottleneck. My responsibility is to develop people, establish standards, make important decisions, and protect the vision. Staying creatively active helps me lead with credibility while empowering others to execute effectively.
How do you keep creative work culturally relevant?
To keep work culturally relevant, I monitor social conversations, consumer behavior, entertainment, technology, design, and emerging cultural patterns. I encourage the team to research beyond traditional advertising sources and listen directly to audiences. However, relevance should not mean chasing every trend. I ask whether a cultural idea genuinely connects with the brand and audience. Responsible creativity respects context, avoids stereotypes, and contributes something meaningful rather than exploiting attention. This approach supports thoughtful creative work.
How would you describe your leadership style?
My leadership style is collaborative, direct, and supportive. I set a clear vision and expectations, then give team members ownership over how they contribute. I encourage honest discussion, experimentation, and constructive challenge because strong creative work rarely comes from unquestioned agreement. At the same time, I make timely decisions when necessary and hold people accountable for commitments. My goal is a high-performing environment where creativity and responsibility reinforce each other. This creates trust and accountability.
What would you do during your first 90 days as creative director?
In my first 90 days, I would focus on listening, learning, and building trust. I would understand the brand, business priorities, audience, creative process, team strengths, performance data, and stakeholder expectations. Then I would identify quick improvements while avoiding unnecessary disruption. I would establish clear standards, review major projects, and develop a longer-term creative roadmap. My goal would be creating alignment first, then improving consistency, efficiency, and creative impact. This establishes momentum.
What qualities make an excellent creative director?
Successful creative leadership requires strategic thinking, communication, emotional intelligence, curiosity, decisiveness, and strong creative judgment. A creative director must understand both ideas and execution while motivating diverse specialists toward a shared vision. I continuously learn from audiences, culture, technology, business results, and other disciplines. I believe the best leaders protect creativity while creating accountability, because excellent work happens when talented people have clear purpose, useful feedback, and room to contribute. These qualities drive consistent results. Preparing for a creative director interview requires a balance of creativity, leadership, strategy, communication, and business awareness. Use these 25 questions to practice explaining your decisions with confidence and specific examples from your experience. Avoid memorizing answers word for word. Instead, adapt each response to your background, achievements, and leadership style. Show employers that you can inspire creative teams, protect brand quality, manage challenges, and turn strong ideas into meaningful business results consistently while demonstrating confidence, professionalism, and creative vision.